Hello and welcome to the Lund University International Podcast. On the show, you'll hear from current students, alumni, researchers, professors, and many more special guests as we explore what it's really like to live, study, and work at Lund University in Sweden, a world top 100 university. My name is Tim Parker, and I am an International Communications Officer at External Relations. There's a popular saying in Sweden, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. And this phrase perfectly sums up the Swedish approach to embracing winter while staying cozy and comfortable. Today, we're diving into all things winter in Sweden. How to navigate the season, stay warm, and make the most of this unique time of year. We'll explore the Swedish concept of mys, the art of coziness, and how it's a game changer for creating warmth and positivity during the darker months. Along the way, we'll share tips on setting up a cozy study space, finding the right winter gear, staying socially connected, and discovering fun activities and nature spots around Lund. Plus, we'll tackle the ways to beat the winter blues and focus on your mental and physical well-being. And with us today, we have two guests. Welcome into the studio. Please introduce yourself.
So I'm Yashoda. I'm from India and I've been in Sweden around 4 or 5 months now. And I'm doing a Master of Science in Social Scientific Data Analysis.
Okay, nice. So your first Swedish winter.
It is.
Hi, I'm Merin. I'm from the United Kingdom and I'm doing exchange here. And I'm from the University of York. My course is BA Sociology with Social Psychology.
Fantastic. Welcome, both of you. And I have to check, it's your first Swedish winter as well?
Yes, mine too.
Okay, great. So first of all, before we dive into Swedish winter, I have to ask, how's the winter in your home country?
Back in the UK, we still have quite cold weathers, but nothing compared to Sweden. And it does get dark, but again, it's more just grey and cold and very rainy. And there's less of the very festive and snowy kind of part of it that I saw in Sweden. So I think there's a bit of a difference compared to that.
Okay.
Well, there's a much larger difference for me. I live in the south of India, so we don't really have winter. We just have a sort of extended summer like a Swedish summer where it gets down to around 20 degrees and everyone bundles up and feels really cold
At 20.
and wintry at 20. So it's quite a big difference.
It sounds like it. And for our listeners who don't know, maybe they're sitting at home, getting ready to move to Sweden to study in the future. How long is winter in Sweden and in Lund, and how are the conditions?
So I'd say it's typically from November to February. And it does get quite cold here. So I think the worst temperature that we got for our first Swedish winter was -8. What else? The roads are icy.
I think it can get a little bit colder than that, but we've had a quite mild winter so far. Yeah, we got a bit of snow, but I don't think Lund gets too much snow. But it's been nice to have a few snowy days. I think it's quite cloudy, so in addition to the darkness, you don't really get a lot of sunlight, which is sort of additional to the cold and the rain.
So for our listeners who are maybe picturing Sweden as this winter wonderland covered in snow, the whole time it's not really quite like that down here in the south of Sweden.
No, unfortunately not. I will say it is very magical when you do get snow.
True.
Yeah.
But other than that, still there's the festive lights and it does kind of have that appeal. But maybe it's just the snow. There's less snow days compared to the north of Sweden, I would say.
Okay, nice. So with these conditions, it is really important to stay cozy.
Yes.
And there's a concept in Sweden called mys. So what is this concept and how does it help you during the winters?
So I would say for both of us, this was quite a new concept. And getting here and seeing how people really kind of love to get cozy and love to stay inside and have hot drinks. It was very nice, wasn't it, to see that?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said to really embracing the season and just trying to find the best sort of atmosphere and feeling that you can create within what is the time of year.
Yeah. Feeling a sense of warmth, I would say.
Yeah, a sense of warmth. I think having a lot of lights up, getting very cozy in terms of your clothes and what you're wearing, the things you're drinking, eating and drinking seasonal beverages.
Yes, hot drinks.
Hot drinks, pastries.
Yeah, baking. We did a lot of baking as well.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah.
Nice. Movie nights as well as part of it. Yeah, and I guess we'll get onto that as well. But I mean, you are both students, so first things first, you have to focus on your studies, other than being cozy and embracing the season, which is also important. But how can you create a cozy and or productive study space during the winter?
I think being productive and studying is definitely a little bit harder in the winter than in the sort of warmer months. But I think there's a lot of spaces and study spaces specifically on campus that allow you to sort of be around people and are really well lit and bright and busy, that feel still sort of cozy and comfortable to study.
Yeah, I would say cafes are the perfect way to accommodate this concept of me into studying as well. Because mostly what we do is like after lectures and stuff, a bunch of us, like friends and everyone, we go to the cafes and we sit and study while having these hot drinks and stuff. So it's very much trying to make that initiative of getting out of your houses and coming into university and making the best out of the coziness or what the opportunities arise. So very much like you said as well, the study spaces were a really good thing as well because most of them are open quite late. And you've also got really pretty cafes. Wayne's is a personal favorite.
Yeah, and I think even if if you prefer to study at home, there is a way to create a study nook. I have my desk, which is in my corridor, and I put up a bunch of candles around the corners, and I have a little calendar where I mark off days, and I play music when I'm studying to help me focus. So I think there's ways to make that really comfortable as well.
Yeah.
I have to ask about the study music. What do you listen to?
It's definitely the lo-fi hip-hop beats to study to, yeah.
I love that because you can just put it on for like hours and hours and you don't feel bored and you're just in the zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is nice.
And I'm also curious about clothing during winter as well. Obviously, you might need slightly different clothes compared to India, for example. So how important is it to have the correct winter clothes when you're in Sweden?
I think that was something that everyone warned me about, so I was really careful about that. I had definitely had to buy a lot of new things. I think having a really good, solid, weatherproof winter jacket is important. I think especially if, like me, you're unaccustomed to the cold, so I get very cold very quickly. A good pair of boots, and so because I think the roads can get a little bit icy, especially when it snows. Woolen socks were huge, and I didn't know about those until I got here. And I had a Norwegian friend, and she was like, you should stop complaining that your feet are cold and just buy some woolen socks, which was good advice. And I think just layers in general.
Yeah.
So thermals, lightest sweaters that you can layer up underneath your coat. It is usually quite warm indoors, but part of classrooms can be really chilly.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say same. Like boots are very much important as well. For me, coming from the UK, I didn't have that much of a difference because I did know winter is a thing, and you do need a change of like different clothes. You need specific winter clothes that are like thermal, and that does like have a more coziness or like heat productive situation. But again, making sure that you dress for the weather. So a culture shock for me was like checking the weather every morning and thinking, okay, it's 3 degrees. So I have to make sure that I have enough layers for me to be okay at 3 degrees. And like changing it up every day is a good suggestion, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's better to be too warm than too cold. True, as well. So if you have layers, you can just shed as you go.
Great point. It is all about the layers. And you also need to make sure that you're staying socially connected during the winter as well. So how do you manage this?
I think studying and as much as like being a student, you do have these spaces where you are actually trapped, I would say, in lectures where you do meet these people, but also making sure to use that opportunity to make those connections outside university and lectures would also be a really good opportunity. So again, studying with friends is a really good one because it's so easily done and you can make those connections. But also the university has student nations, which are basically student-led organizations that put up events. And these are perfect to like meet new friends or like have a space for you to hang out with your friends as well. These can include like pub nights, events, board games. There were movie nights. There was a potluck that was happening. Again, very, very perfect opportunity to kind of have that space to just be and just chill after studying.
Yeah, there were a few craft events as well, which are, if we're going back to the coziness, where you can do things like learn how to crochet or learn how to knit. Make like greeting cards for Christmas and things like that. Just really fun.
Yeah.
And I think people are really friendly, so it's easy to get to know and speak with and meet new people at these events. Yeah.
And I think another top tip I remember from when I was an international student as well is to really try and get out and socialize when you arrive in Lund at the end of summer and autumn as well. Because then you have a group of friends to spend the winter with. Although you can still meet new people in the winter as well, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I think the orientation weeks were really great for making new friends. And I have friends that I met at the international mentor program and things like that I'm still, that are some of my closest friends in Lund. So
Yeah, so the good thing about Lund University is that because it is based within a city, every day you meet new people, walking around like the department or going from one department to the other. There's always new people to meet. There's always this opportunity to make new friends. You never get bored of the people here, which is amazing.
That's nice to hear. And do you meet mostly Swedes or international students, exchange students, or a mix?
A good mix, actually. At first, again, like coming here during orientation week, you're kind of left with about like the bubble of exchange students and a few international students as well, which is where I met Yashoda. But then going into actual lectures and going into the study period itself, there like you do meet everyone and anyone really. Not even students. There were plenty of opportunity for me to meet local people as well, which was nice.
yeah, I think my program is very international. So I think I have a lot of international friends, but I definitely have a few Swedish friends, which has been helpful for advice in particular on how to get through the winter. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear it. And I mean, there's also a lot of winter activities or sports that you can do to keep yourself occupied and healthy as well. What are some fun winter activities that you've tried in Sweden, and how did they help you stay active?
I want you to take this one because Yashoda's got a crazy one.
Okay.
I do. I was thinking of saving that for last.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, I went to a lot of like choir events at the Lund Cathedral, which was magical and amazing, and it's just like nothing in this world really. Other than that, the St. Lucia concert as well must be said. It's a lot of music and really like traditional kind of events that happens particularly in Sweden. That was really nice. Other than that, I would say mostly hanging out with friends. I did stick to indoors, not gonna lie. But on the occasions that I did make an effort to go out, it's so nice to just walk around town. The lights are up. It's very festive. Although it is dark, it's so nice to just see the displays on like the different shops and stuff. It's very pretty. So I like doing that.
Yeah, there's an ice skating rink set up here in the center of town as well, which you tried.
Yeah, that was scary. I'm not good at ice skating, but I tried it, which is nice. I see kids just like waiting for it to open and just stay there for the whole thing. I don't know how they do it, but respect.
Yeah, I think just staying active in terms of exercise and being physically active can be really helpful as well. If that's a part of your lifestyle, I think it helps deal with like the endorphins, right? It helps keep you positive and engaged. So I think I know a couple of people who've been on winter hikes when it snows. Yeah. I went on a really fun short hike with my flatmates when the first time it snowed here, which was a very new experience for me. There's in terms of keeping active, there's a lot of gyms around town that have different classes and group activities. But a really fun one, a fun activity that I had a chance. So one of my friends in class, so she's part of a group that goes out to this lake just outside of Lund a few times a week. And they do cold plunges in the lake there.
Which is crazy to me.
And they've been doing that all through winter, autumn and winter. And I tried it once. I don't know if it was for me, but I will say it was very, very invigorating. So if that's your thing,
Plenty of opportunities.
plenty of opportunities.
That is a winter activity and a half. So was the lake almost frozen when you plunged in, or?
No.
Okay.
Thankfully, no. I don't think I would have been able to do it if there was ice. But it was definitely cold. We had. I think the general practice is to have a thermos of like a really warm drink and maybe some pastries to warm up after. Yeah, and I know a few people who go down to Malmö.
Yes.
And do that in the ocean as well. And there's a beach that has a sauna. So
Going to the beach in the winter seems to be a pretty popular thing here. It's always like, oh, let's go to Loma or let's go to Bjärred or all the different ones, which there's quite a few beaches around us as well. One more thing that I wanted to add was Christmas markets. So like it happens during December. And again, it kind of uplifts that festive spirit, which is also nice. And you get a lot of like local producers, which is rare to find otherwise. So it's a nice opportunity to kind of interact with the locals and kind of get some local goods.
And I would also like to add on the cold plunge topic that you mentioned. Yeah, I think a lot of people like to combine it with going to the sauna. Yeah, so there's a sauna in Malmö, as you mentioned, and you can go in the sauna and jump in the because it's right on the ocean. You can jump in the ocean and jump back in the sauna. And that's common all across Sweden and the Nordic countries as well. So that's also a nice way to combine cold plunging with staying really, really warm. And you mentioned going to Malmö, and there's also a lot of other interesting destinations close to Lund where you can take day trips. So have you had any special or favorite spots for traveling?
So I decided to basically just travel around Skåne, which is where Lund is situated. So it is within the south of Sweden. And again, there's really pretty places everywhere. I went to Landskrona, Båstad, Helsingborg, and ended in Malmö. It was so nice. It was very like, although it was winter, although it was a bit cold, it was so nice to just see the hilly areas and go into town. There's so much variety in Sweden, which is perfect because you've got the proper towns and cities and the nightlife, but you also have a really amazing part of nature. And seeing like the hills and the greenery and all of that is just so refreshing. And the transport is so easy. You can just hop on a train, get there, walk around, and just like you can do that so many times in a day. And it's perfect. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Copenhagen is also really close, which is a very cool city to be in. And over the winter break, if you don't have a chance to go home, some people do. I think you're really well located in terms of traveling a little bit in Europe or within Sweden, if you'd like. I think there are also some student organizations like ESN, which is the Erasmus Student Network, organized a day trip it wasn't a day trip, it was a ski trip up north that a few of my classmates went on, and I heard it was really, really fun. So I think there are some organized trips as well that you can do.
Nice. So it really does sound like there's a lot of ways to stay active and keep busy. And then inevitably during the winter, at some point, especially if it's your first winter in Europe or in Sweden, you might start encountering the winter blues, which is a natural part of life. So I'm curious if you have any other advice about how to take care of your mental and physical well-being.
I would say mental and physical well-being, they're both very linked. So definitely getting out, exercising does so much to your mental health as well. And ultimately knowing that you're not the only one, like we're all in the same boat. Everyone feels a bit meh or, a bit lonely during winter. So making sure that you know that it's fine and, it just means that you need to talk to a friend or do something nice and just get out of that monotone routine does a lot.
Yeah, I love my mental health walks. Even if it's, I think, gray and cloudy outside, it's just good to get outdoors and get some fresh air, and you always feel better afterwards. I think a lot of the departments organize, there are a lot of resources available around mental health and the winter and winter blues are organized by Lund University and the different departments. But my favorite one, I think, was we had a potluck with my department, and it was really nice. Like everyone brought different food from their different cultures, or if you're me, just went to the local Indian grocery store and bought some snacks.
It's okay.
It's okay. So I think, keeping in touch with your friends, talking to your friends, I think as well, when you're not doing so great, it helps you really feel less alone because everyone is genuinely going through the same thing. So if you go to your friend and you say, I'm not feeling too good, and the chances are they are in the same boat. And it's just like a feeling of solidarity that you're all getting through this together.
Yeah.
Also organizing little social gatherings. It's maybe a little bit harder to do if you're living in a corridor with 15 other people, but having dinners or potlucks with your friends or going out to coffees and yapping,
it's always nice.
Yeah. I think just maintaining that social connection.
Yeah, find reasons to get out for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe talking to family and friends back home as well can be helpful.
Yeah. It's quite nice to have that reassurance and to be like, you're not just going through something on your own. There are people around you and, they're certainly here to help.
Yeah, there is a little bit of if your family lives in a tropical country, there may be a little bit of envy there. But it is nice to stay in to family back home as well, yeah.
Yeah, you can see sometimes your friends' social media accounts where it's like the middle of summer or 25 degrees, and that can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah. I think I know quite a few people who went, even who couldn't leave Europe but went down south to get a little bit more sun over the winter break, which is really nice. I spent a few days in Portugal, and I got very lucky because there was no rain. So I think just, and so when the sun is out, making sure that you catch those
oh my God
moments of sunshine.
Explain to our listeners. So that's something common that happens in Sweden. People go outside and get the sun.
Yeah, so if you see the sun out, just go outside. Don't stay inside. Even if you look weird just standing outside your door of the accommodation, do it. Just do it. Because I don't know, it's so magical to just see the sun after a few days of cloudiness and you're just like, oh my God, this is it. Yeah, there's so much happiness that the sun gives.
The advice that I got before coming here was to take a lot of vitamin D supplements. And I think that was really good advice because when I spent my first winter in Melbourne, it doesn't get as cold or grey and dark as it does here. But I think it was very new to me and it was definitely, I had a deficiency. And I think it does cause a lot of lethargy and you get really low on energy. So it's really important to make sure you get the vitamin D in addition to catching the sun when you can.
Yeah.
And is there anything that surprised you about the Swedish winter?
In terms of Swedish winter being surprising, I think the Swedish spirit just seems to be to persevere. So whatever it is, even if it is bad weather, even if it is a bad day, it's almost always to get through it and get on with life, which is really, really admiring, especially compared to the UK, because we just give up. Once we get to winter, everyone's just like, okay, it's great. That means I can just stay inside and drink lots of tea. But then coming here, I was like, no, you have to go to lectures. You have to do the things that you do. And that's been really, really admiring, very admirable to do things and get out and really just even if it is snowing and raining or whatever, you go to the grocery store and you get your food, that's been really surprising, I would say. Because life doesn't stop. It just is. And then you kind of find the goodness within that as well, making sure that you make the most out of the really good things in life.
Yeah, that was a really lovely answer. I discovered this new phenomenon here that I've never experienced before, where it isn't raining and it isn't dry, but there's this perpetual mist that's sort of flowing in your face. And having an umbrella doesn't help, and wearing a jacket doesn't help. That was very new and surprising to me. I will say it doesn't take away from the experience of, I think there's a lot of sense of community in the colder months. And one of my favorite things I think that I've seen around here that I haven't seen anywhere else is as it starts to get darker and darker, people start to put up lights in the windows, not behind the curtains, but in front of the curtains so that people who are passing by can see the lights. And I think that's just, I've heard that that's basically to indicate that your house is open to visitors and to
I didn't know that.
inviting people in. May not be true.
No, that's such a pretty concept.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks. And is there anything else you'd like to add to this discussion?
Just that even Swedish winter has its own like beautiness to it. So make sure that you embrace it when you get here. At first, it might be a bit surprising, and there might be an element of culture shock, but you're in for a treat for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think really not trying to resist or feel like it's something different and scary, but to embrace the traditions and the cultures the traditions that exist for a reason really help you feel sort of more welcome and warm and like it's a new, different experience and not something scary and miserable.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing your tips on staying cozy in the Swedish winter.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I really hope that this helps new students because I got a lot of warnings. And I don't think it's been as scary or as bad as I was told. It's been really nice.
And spring, of course, is just around the corner as well.
Yes, the days are getting longer.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website, lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and X. And you can connect with our amazing student ambassadors on Unibuddy. Don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode very soon.